Ariel thought she was texting her ex-boyfriend, her new address, a simple message to close, a painful chapter of her life. But one wrong number changed everything. When a stranger appeared at her door holding flowers meant for his dead mother, she had no idea this accidental encounter would force her to choose between safety and the most terrifying risk of all, trusting again. He was hiding a secret that could destroy everything they were building, a truth so big it made her question if any of it was real. She ran from heartbreak once before, but this time, running might mean losing the only person who truly saw her. What she didn't know was that he was about to vanish without warning, leaving her with nothing but unanswered questions and a choice that would define the rest of her life. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me what city you're from, because this story of accidental love and second chances is just beginning. The afternoon sun pressed through the living room window, making the dust in the air visible. Ariel Hayes stood in the middle of her new apartment, surrounded by cardboard boxes that seemed to multiply every time she turned around. Her back ached. Her arms felt heavy. She'd been moving since sunrise, and exhaustion had settled deep into her bones. "That's the last one from the truck," Naomi said, setting down another box marked kitchen. Her older sister wiped sweat from her forehead and looked around the cramped space. "Girl, you sure you want to be here? This neighborhood?" "It's what I can afford right now," Ariel said quietly. She pulled the hair tie from her wrist and gathered her thick curls into a ponytail. "Besides, it's mine." "That matters." Naomi studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "I'm proud of you. You know that, right?" Ariel managed a small smile. "I know. I'm going to run to the hardware store and grab some cleaning supplies. You need anything else?" "No, I'm good. Thank you for helping me today." "That's what sisters do." Naomi grabbed her purse and keys. "Lock the door behind me, and don't overdo it. You look exhausted." After Naomi left, the apartment felt bigger and lonelier. Ariel sat on the floor beside a stack of boxes and pulled out her phone. Her thumb hovered over Devon's contact name. She'd deleted it twice already, but somehow always added it back. He still had one box of her things, books, mostly, a framed photo of her grandmother. She needed those items, even if asking for them meant talking to him again. She opened a new text message and started typing. "My new address is 428 Maple Grove Apartments, Unit 3B. Can you drop off my box sometime this week?" Her finger hit send before she could second-guess herself. The message went through, but instead of Devon's name appearing at the top, the screen showed number not saved. Ariel frowned. She stared at the message thread, confusion tightening in her chest. Devon must have changed his number again. He did that sometimes when he owed people money or wanted to avoid responsibility. It shouldn't have surprised her. A reply came through almost immediately. "Thank you for the address." Ariel rolled her eyes. That was just like Devon responding with something cryptic and vaguely sarcastic. She tossed her phone onto the couch and returned to unpacking. Hours passed. The apartment slowly began to look less like a storage unit and more like a home. She hung curtains in the bedroom, arranged her grandmother's quilt on the bed, and stacked her favorite books on the windowsill. By the time the sun started setting, her body screamed for rest. She made herself a peanut butter sandwich and sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Naomi had texted twice, checking in. Ariel replied with a thumbs-up emoji and set the phone aside. The knock on the door startled her. It was soft but deliberate, the kind of knock that said someone was waiting patiently on the other side. Ariel stood, brushing crumbs from her jeans. She assumed it was Mrs. Keller, the elderly woman from downstairs who had introduced herself earlier that morning. She seemed sweet, if a little nosy. Ariel unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door. A man stood in the dim hallway, holding a bouquet of white roses and baby's breath. He was tall, with light brown hair that fell just above his eyes and a clean-shaven face. He wore jeans and a grey sweater, nothing fancy, but he looked put together in a way that felt intentional. He wasn't smiling. Ariel's breath caught. "Can I help you?" The man shifted his weight, glancing down at the flowers before meeting her eyes. "I'm sorry to bother you. My name is Elliot. I received a text earlier with this address, and I thought—" He paused, as if reconsidering his words. "I thought maybe someone needed company, or help." "I wasn't sure." Ariel's mind raced. "I didn't text you. You sent an address," he said gently. "I assumed it was intentional." Her stomach dropped. The wrong number. The message she'd sent to Devon had gone to this stranger instead. "I made a mistake," she said, her voice firmer now. "I was trying to reach my ex." "I'm sorry you came all the way here." Elliot nodded slowly, understanding crossing his face. "That makes sense. I'm sorry for the confusion." He looked down at the flowers in his hand. "These were for my mother, actually. She passed away a few months ago. I was going to leave them at her grave, but—" he hesitated. "I didn't want to waste them. Would you like them?" Ariel stared at him, unsure what to say. There was something about the way he stood there, uncertain and sad, that made her heart soften despite her wariness. "You don't have to," he added quickly. "I just thought—" "Thank you," she said, taking the bouquet from him. The stems were still cool, the petals soft against her fingertips. "That's really kind." He offered a small, tentative smile. "I hope the move went well." "It's been a long day," she admitted. "I'm sure." He stepped back into the hallway. "I'll leave you alone now. I'm sorry again for the confusion." "It's okay." "Really?" He gave a polite nod and turned to leave. Ariel watched him walk down the hallway, his footsteps quiet on the worn carpet. When he reached the stairwell, he glanced back once, then disappeared. She closed the door slowly and locked it, her hands still holding the flowers. What just happened? She set the bouquet on the kitchen counter and stared at it. White roses. They smelled faint and sweet. She filled a glass with water and placed the stems inside, arranging them carefully. Her phone buzzed on the couch. She walked over and picked it up, half expecting another strange message. Instead, it was Naomi. "You good?" "Yeah, just tired." Ariel set the phone down and returned to the flowers. She couldn't stop looking at them. They were beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. It was the gesture. The quiet sadness in Elliot's voice when he mentioned his mother. The way he'd offered them without expecting anything in return. She didn't know what to make of it. That night, Ariel lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The apartment was quiet, except for the faint hum of traffic outside. She thought about Devon, about how relieved she felt not to see him today. She thought about the flowers on her counter and the stranger who'd brought them. Sleep didn't come easily, but when it finally did, her dreams were soft and strange, filled with white roses and kind eyes. The next morning, Ariel woke to sunlight streaming through her bedroom window. Her body still ached from yesterday's work, but she felt lighter somehow. She got dressed, pulled her hair into a loose bun, and decided to explore the neighborhood. The bakery was only 2 blocks away. Naomi had mentioned it yesterday, saying it had the best cinnamon rolls in the city. Ariel didn't have much of an appetite, but she wanted to get out of the apartment. Sitting alone with her thoughts didn't feel good right now. The bakery was small and warm, with mismatched chairs and the smell of fresh bread filling the air. A chalkboard menu hung above the counter, listing pastries and coffee drinks in neat handwriting. Ariel ordered a cinnamon roll and black coffee, then found a table near the window. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through social media, barely paying attention to the posts. "Excuse me." She looked up. Elliot stood a few feet away, holding a coffee cup and looking just as surprised as she felt. "Hi," he said, his voice uncertain. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I didn't expect to see you either," Ariel said. He gestured to the empty chair across from her. "Do you mind if I sit?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Go ahead." He sat down carefully, setting his coffee on the table. "I wanted to apologize again for showing up at your door last night. I realize how strange that must have seemed." "It was strange," she admitted, "but I appreciate the flowers. That was really sweet. I'm glad you liked them." They sat in silence for a moment, the noise of the bakery filling the space between them. Ariel studied him quietly. He didn't look like someone who had bad intentions. If anything, he looked tired, lonely, even. "Are you new to the neighborhood?" he asked. "Yeah. I just moved in yesterday. How are you liking it so far?" "It's okay. Still getting used to everything." He nodded. "It's a good area. Quiet, mostly. The people are kind." "That's good to know." Another silence stretched between them, but it didn't feel uncomfortable. Ariel took a bite of her cinnamon roll, and Elliot sipped his coffee. When she glanced up, she caught him looking at her, but he quickly looked away. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course. Why did you really come to my door last night?" He considered the question, his fingers tapping lightly against his coffee cup. Honestly, I was lonely. When I got that text, I thought maybe it was someone reaching out. Someone who needed help, or company, or just someone. I know that sounds pathetic. It doesn't, she said softly. He met her eyes, and something passed between them, an understanding maybe, a shared recognition of what it felt like to be alone. I should let you finish your breakfast, he said, standing. You don't have to leave. He paused, surprised. Are you sure? Yeah. Sit. He sat back down, a small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. They talked for another 20 minutes. He told her about the neighborhood, the best coffee shop, the park with the duck pond, the grocery store that stayed open late. She told him about her sister, about how Naomi had helped her move, about how exhausting it all was. When they finally stood to leave, Elliot held the door open for her. Thank you for letting me sit with you, he said. Thank you for the company. They walked in the same direction for a block, before parting ways. Ariel watched him disappear around the corner, then pulled out her phone. She typed a message before she could overthink it. Thank you again for the flowers, and for this morning. His reply came a few minutes later. You're welcome. I hope the move went well. Ariel smiled and slipped her phone into her pocket. That afternoon, Ariel spent hours organizing her apartment. She unpacked books, hung pictures, and arranged her small collection of plants on the windowsill. The space was starting to feel like hers. A knock on the door interrupted her progress. She opened it to find Mrs. Keller standing in the hallway, holding a wicker basket covered with a checkered cloth. Hello, dear, Mrs. Keller said warmly. I wanted to bring you a proper welcome gift. Oh, you didn't have to do that. Nonsense. It's just some muffins and tea. Nothing fancy. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, her eyes scanning the apartment. My, you've made good progress. It looks lovely already. Thank you. Ariel set the basket on the counter. Would you like to sit down? Just for a minute. Mrs. Keller settled onto the couch with a satisfied sigh. So, tell me, how are you settling in? It's been good, a little overwhelming, but good. And that young man I saw you with yesterday, who was he? Ariel blinked. You saw him? I was coming up the stairs when he was leaving. Tall fellow, very polite looking. Is he a friend? Not exactly. It was a misunderstanding. I sent him my address by accident, and he thought I needed help. Mrs. Keller's eyebrows rose. And he showed up with flowers? They were meant for his mother. She passed away. Oh, how sad. Mrs. Keller's expression softened. Well, he must be a kind soul to share them with you. He seems nice, Ariel said carefully. Nice is good, dear. Nice is very good, Mrs. Keller stood, brushing invisible crumbs from her skirt. I'll let you get back to your unpacking. But if you need anything at all, I'm in Unit 1B, right below you. Thank you, Mrs. Keller. After she left, Ariel opened the basket and found blueberry muffins still warm from the oven. She ate one standing at the counter, staring out the window at the street below. Her phone buzzed. If you ever need help carrying anything, I'm nearby. It was Elliot. Ariel stared at the message for a long moment, her heart doing something complicated in her chest. She typed a reply, deleted it, then typed another. Thank you. I'll keep that in mind. She set the phone down and returned to unpacking, but her thoughts kept drifting back to him. The way he'd looked at her in the bakery, the way his voice had sounded when he talked about his mother. She didn't know what to make of it. She didn't know if she wanted to. But something had shifted, something small and fragile and just beginning to grow. The next morning, Ariel went downstairs to check her mail. The mailbox was empty, except for a flyer advertising a local gym. She folded it and tucked it under her arm, turning to head back upstairs. Ariel. She froze. Devon stood in the parking lot, leaning against his car with her box of belongings sitting on the hood. He looked the same as always, dark jeans, a fitted t-shirt, that easy smile that used to make her stomach flip. Now it just made her tired. Hey, he said, pushing off the car and walking toward her. I got your text. Thought I'd bring this by. That wasn't my text, she said. I sent it to the wrong number. He frowned. What? I sent the address to someone else by mistake. I didn't expect you to actually show up. Well, here I am. He gestured to the box. And here's your stuff. She walked over and picked up the box, balancing it against her hip. Thanks. That's it. Just thanks. What do you want me to say, Devon? He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I want you to tell me why you moved without saying anything. I want to know why you're shutting me out. I'm not shutting you out. We broke up. This is what that means. We didn't break up. We took a break. No, Ariel said firmly. You took a break. I ended it. His jaw tightened. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. Before he could respond, a voice interrupted them. Ariel? She turned to see Elliot walking across the parking lot, his expression cautious. He glanced between her and Devon, clearly sensing the tension. Everything okay? Elliot asked. Devon's eyes narrowed. Who are you? I'm Elliot. He extended a hand, but Devon didn't take it. This is a private conversation, Devon said. It didn't look private, Elliot said calmly. Ariel stepped between them. Devon, you should go. Are you serious right now? Devon's voice rose. You're choosing this guy over me? You don't even know him. I'm not choosing anyone. I'm asking you to leave. Devon stared at her, anger and hurt flickering across his face. Then he shook his head and walked back to his car. You deserve someone normal, Ariel. Not some random guy who shows up out of nowhere. He got in his car and drove off, tires squealing slightly as he turned onto the street. Ariel stood there, clutching the box, her heart pounding. I'm sorry, Elliot said quietly. I didn't mean to make things worse. You didn't. He did. She looked up at him. Thank you for checking on me. Of course. They stood there for a moment, the morning sun warming the asphalt around them. Do you need help carrying that upstairs? Elliot asked, nodding to the box. I've got it. But thank you. He walked with her to the building entrance anyway, holding the door open as she stepped inside. Ariel, he said, his voice soft. She turned. You don't owe anyone an explanation, he said. Not him, not me, not anyone. Something in her chest loosened. She nodded, blinking back the sting of tears. Thank you. He gave her a small smile and left. Ariel climbed the stairs to her apartment, set the box down in the hallway, and leaned against the door. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out and saw a text from Naomi. How are you doing? Ariel typed a reply. I'm okay. I think I'm going to be okay. And for the first time in a long time, she believed it. Naomi showed up that evening with 2 bags of groceries and a bottle of wine. I figured you could use some company, she said, pushing past Ariel into the apartment. She set the bags on the counter and started unpacking fresh vegetables, pasta, a carton of eggs, bread, and some real food. You can't live on peanut butter sandwiches forever. I wasn't planning to, Ariel said, but she was grateful. The truth was, she hadn't thought much about eating. Her mind had been too full of other things. So, Naomi said, pulling out a cutting board, tell me about this guy. What guy? Don't play dumb. The one you texted me about, the flowers guy. Ariel sighed and sat at the small kitchen table. His name is Elliot. I sent him my address by accident, and he showed up thinking I needed help. That's it. That's not it. You saw him again. At the bakery. And then this morning when Devon showed up. Naomi stopped chopping an onion and looked up sharply. Devon was here? He brought my box back. It was fine. Elliot happened to walk by, and Devon got weird about it. Of course he did. Naomi shook her head. That man can't stand the thought of you moving on. I'm not moving on. I barely know Elliot. But you like him. Ariel opened her mouth to deny it, then stopped. Did she like him? She didn't know. She felt something, curiosity maybe, comfort. He made her feel seen in a way that didn't demand anything from her. I don't know what I feel, she said honestly. Naomi resumed chopping. Well, be careful. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but you just got out of a messy situation. You don't need to jump into something new right away. I'm not jumping into anything. Good. Because you deserve someone who's going to show up for you. Someone steady. Someone who doesn't disappear when things get hard. Ariel thought about that while Naomi cooked. They ate dinner together, pasta with tomatoes and garlic, simple but delicious. Naomi told her about work, about their mother's latest complaints, about the neighbor's dog that wouldn't stop barking at night. It felt normal, safe. After Naomi left, Ariel cleaned the dishes and sat on the couch with her phone. She scrolled through social media for a while, then opened her messages. Elliot's last text stared back at her. "If you ever need help carrying anything, I'm nearby." She typed a message before she could overthink it. "Thank you for this morning. I'm sorry Devon was rude to you." His reply came quickly. "You don't need to apologize for him. Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "Good. That's what matters." She stared at the screen, unsure what to say next. Then another message appeared. "If you want to talk about it, I'm around. No pressure." Something warm spread through her chest. She typed back, "Maybe, thank you." She set the phone down and looked around her apartment. The boxes were mostly unpacked now. The space was beginning to feel like hers. But it still felt empty in a way she couldn't quite name. Her phone buzzed again. "Get some rest. Tomorrow's a new day." Ariel smiled despite herself. She replied with a simple good night and turned off the lights. The next afternoon, Ariel decided to take a walk. She needed air, needed to move, needed to clear her head. She grabbed her keys and headed downstairs. The weather was perfect, cool but sunny, with a breeze that smelled like autumn. She walked toward the park Elliot had mentioned, the one with the duck pond. She found it easily enough. It was small but peaceful, with benches scattered around the water and a walking path that circled the perimeter. Families sat on blankets in the grass. An elderly couple fed bread to the ducks. Children ran past, laughing. Ariel sat on a bench near the water and watched the ducks glide across the surface. She thought about Devon, about how angry he'd looked this morning. Part of her felt guilty for hurting him, but a bigger part of her felt relieved. She'd spent 2 years trying to make that relationship work. 2 years of excuses and second chances and hoping he'd change. He never did. And she'd finally had enough. "Mind if I join you?" She looked up, startled. Elliot stood a few feet away, holding a coffee cup and looking uncertain. He wore jeans and a navy jacket, his hair slightly messy from the wind. "How did you know I was here?" she asked. "I didn't. I come here sometimes to think." He gestured to the bench. "But I can go somewhere else if you want to be alone." "No." "Sit." He sat down, leaving a respectful distance between them. For a while, neither of them spoke. They just watched the ducks and the families and the sunlight dancing on the water. "This is one of my favorite spots," Elliot said eventually. "My mom used to bring me here when I was a kid. She'd pack sandwiches, and we'd sit for hours." "That sounds nice." "It was." His voice grew softer. "She died 3 months ago. Cancer. It happened fast. I'm so sorry. Thank you." He took a sip of his coffee. "I still come here because it makes me feel close to her. Like she's still around, somehow." Ariel looked at him, really looked at him. There was a sadness in his eyes that matched something in her own chest. "What was she like?" A small smile crossed his face. "Kind. She was the kindest person I've ever known. She worked as a nurse for 30 years, and she treated every patient like family. She had this way of making people feel important, you know, like they mattered. She sounds wonderful." "She was." He paused. "What about you? Why did you move here?" Ariel hesitated. She didn't usually talk about her personal life with people she barely knew, but something about Elliot made her want to. "I needed a fresh start," she said. "I was with someone for 2 years, and it wasn't working. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't good either. He was just there. And I realized I deserved more than that. You do. I'm still figuring out what more looks like. That's okay. You don't have to have it all figured out right now." They sat in comfortable silence, watching a little girl chase ducks near the water's edge. Her mother called after her, laughing. "Can I ask you something?" Ariel said. "Of course. Why did you really come to my door that night?" Elliot looked down at his coffee cup, his fingers tracing the lid. "I told you. I was lonely. But you didn't know me. You didn't know if I was safe, or if I even wanted you there. I know. It was stupid." He looked up, meeting her eyes. "But I've been lonely for a long time, and when I got that text, I thought maybe it was a sign. Maybe someone needed me, even if it was just to carry boxes or fix a leaky faucet. I wanted to be useful to someone." Ariel's throat tightened. She understood that feeling more than she wanted to admit. "You were brave," she said quietly, "showing up like that. Most people wouldn't have done it. Or most people would have been smart enough not to." She smiled. "Maybe." But I'm glad you did. He smiled back, and something shifted between them. Something small but significant. They stayed at the park for another hour, talking about everything and nothing. He told her about his job, something vague, involving business management. She told him about her work as a medical receptionist, about the patients who made her laugh, and the ones who made her want to scream. When the sun started to dip lower in the sky, they walked back toward her apartment together. The streets were quieter now, the evening settling in. "Thank you for today," Ariel said when they reached her building. "Thank you for letting me sit with you." She looked at him, this man who'd stumbled into her life by accident. "Would you want to do this again? Maybe take another walk sometime?" His face lit up. "I'd like that." "Good." He lingered for a moment, as if he wanted to say something else. But instead, he just smiled and said, "Good night, Ariel. Good night, Elliot." She watched him walk down the street until he turned the corner. Then she went inside, climbed the stairs, and unlocked her apartment door. Mrs. Keller was standing in the hallway, watering a plant. "Good evening, dear," she said, her eyes twinkling. "You look happy." "I had a nice walk." "With that young man?" Ariel felt her cheeks warm. "Yes. He seems like a good one. Kind eyes. He is kind." Mrs. Keller smiled knowingly. "Well, that's a good start." Ariel went inside and closed the door, leaning against it with a small smile on her face. The next day, Naomi called while Ariel was making coffee. "I did something," Naomi said, her voice tight. "What did you do?" "I looked him up. Elliot. I Googled him." Ariel's stomach dropped. "Why would you do that?" "Because you're my little sister, and I'm protective. And you need to know who this guy is." "Naomi. His full name is Elliot Mercer. He's the CEO of Mercer and Coal Industries. It's a huge company, Ariel. He's worth millions." The words didn't make sense at first. Ariel set her coffee mug down, her hand shaking slightly. "What? He's rich. Like, really rich. And he didn't tell you. Maybe it didn't come up, or maybe he's hiding it for a reason." Ariel sat down at the kitchen table, her mind racing. "Elliot was a CEO? He lived nearby, walked around the neighborhood like a regular person, showed up at bakeries and parks. How could he be a millionaire?" "Are you sure it's the same person?" she asked. "I'm looking at his picture right now. Same guy, same face." Ariel felt something sink inside her chest. Why wouldn't he tell me? That's what you need to find out. After they hung up, Ariel sat in silence for a long time. She thought about their conversations, about the way he'd talked about his mother, about how normal he seemed. Was any of it real? Her phone buzzed. A text from Elliot. "Good morning. I hope you slept well." She stared at the message, anger and confusion swirling inside her. She wanted to ignore it. But she also wanted answers. She typed back, "Can we talk? Today?" His reply came quickly. "Of course. Is everything okay?" "I don't know. Can you meet me at the park in an hour?" "I'll be there." Ariel got dressed quickly, her heart pounding. She didn't know what she was going to say. She didn't know if she was being unfair, but she needed the truth. Elliot was already at the park when she arrived, sitting on the same bench they'd shared yesterday. He stood when he saw her, his expression worried. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Why didn't you tell me you're a CEO?" The words came out sharper than she intended. His face went pale. "How did you—" "My sister looked you up. Elliot Mercer. Mercer and Coal Industries." He closed his eyes briefly, then opened them. "I should have told you." "Yeah, you should have. Can we sit?" She nodded, and they both sat down, the space between them feeling wider than before. "I didn't lie to you," Elliot said carefully. "I just didn't tell you everything. That's the same thing." "No, it's not. I didn't lie. I just—" He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I didn't want you to see me differently." "See you differently how?" "As a rich guy, as someone with money and power. That's all people see when they find out. They stop treating me like a person and start treating me like a bank account or a status symbol." Ariel stared at him. "So you thought it was better to hide it?" "I thought it was better to let you get to know me first. The real me, not the CEO version. The real you is the CEO version, Elliot. That's part of who you are. It's not the only part." His voice cracked slightly. "When my mum died, everyone at the company sent flowers and condolences, but no one actually cared. They cared about whether I'd be at the next board meeting, whether I'd sign off on the merger. My own brother barely called, and when I met you, you didn't know who I was. And it felt good. It felt real. Ariel's anger softened, but the hurt remained. I understand why you did it, but you should have trusted me enough to tell me. I know. I'm sorry. They sat in silence, the sound of children playing in the distance filling the space between them. I don't care about your money, Ariel said finally. I don't care about your company or your title. I care about whether you're honest with me. I want to be honest with you. I do. Then start now. No more hiding. He nodded. Okay. They sat together for a while longer, the tension slowly easing. When Ariel stood to leave, Elliot walked with her. Are we okay? He asked quietly when they reached her building. She looked at him, at the worry in his eyes and the sincerity in his voice. I need some time to think. I understand. She went inside, her heart heavy but her mind clearer. That evening, Mrs. Keller knocked on Ariel's door. I made too much soup, she said, holding a covered pot. Would you like some? Ariel let her in, and they sat at the kitchen table together, eating chicken noodle soup and talking. You seem troubled, dear, Mrs. Keller said. I'm just figuring some things out. About that young man? Ariel nodded. He wasn't completely honest with me about who he is. And who is he? Someone important. Someone with money and power. Mrs. Keller considered this. Does that change how he treats you? No. Does it change how you feel about him? Ariel paused. I don't know. Then maybe that's your answer. The question isn't who he is on paper. The question is who he is when he's with you. Ariel thought about that long after Mrs. Keller left. She thought about the way Elliot looked at her, the way he listened when she talked, the way he showed up when she needed someone. Late that night, her phone buzzed. A text from Elliot. I'm sorry I hurt you. You deserve better than that. She stared at the message for a long time before typing back. I need time. But thank you for apologizing. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. Ariel set her phone down and looked out the window at the dark street below. She didn't know what came next. But for the first time in a long time, she felt like maybe she had the courage to find out. 3 days passed without a word from Elliot. Ariel told herself she didn't mind. She'd asked for time, and he was giving it to her. But the silence felt heavier than she expected. She found herself looking for him at the bakery, glancing out her window when she heard footsteps in the hallway, checking her phone more often than she wanted to admit. On the 4th morning, she woke to the sound of rain hammering against her window. The sky was grey and heavy, the kind of weather that made everything feel slower and quieter. She got dressed and grabbed her jacket, planning to make a quick run to the bakery before the rain got worse. But when she opened her door, something caught her eye. An umbrella hung from her doorknob. It was simple black, with a wooden handle, and attached to it was a small note written on plain white paper. No pressure, just care. Ariel stood there holding the umbrella, her throat tight. She read the note 3 more times, then carefully folded it and slipped it into her pocket. She went to the bakery using his umbrella, the rain soaking everything around her but leaving her dry. When she sat down with her coffee, Mrs. Keller appeared at her table. May I join you, dear? The older woman asked. Of course, Mrs. Keller settled into the chair with a satisfied sigh. I saw that young man leaving something at your door this morning, very early, before sunrise. Ariel's heart skipped. You did? He looked like he hadn't slept much, but he was careful not to make any noise. Didn't want to wake you, I suppose. Ariel stared into her. Coffee, emotions swirling inside her chest. Can I tell you something? Mrs. Keller said gently. I've lived a long time, long enough to know that good men are rare. Men who think about you when you're not around, who do small things without expecting anything back. Those men don't come along often. I know he's a good man. Ariel said quietly. I'm just scared. Of what? Of getting hurt again. Of trusting someone and being wrong. Mrs. Keller reached across the table and patted her hand. You'll never know for certain, dear. That's the risk we take when we open our hearts. But sometimes the risk is worth it. Ariel thought about those words all afternoon. When the rain finally stopped, she pulled out her phone. Would you like to take a walk after the rain stops? Elliot's reply came almost immediately. I'd like that very much. They met near the park an hour later. The air smelled fresh and clean, the streets still wet and shining. Elliot looked tired but hopeful, his hands tucked into his jacket pockets. "Thank you for the umbrella," Ariel said. "You're welcome." They started walking, side by side, not touching but close enough that their arms occasionally brushed. For a while, neither of them spoke. They just walked, letting the silence settle into something comfortable. "I've been thinking a lot," Ariel said eventually, "about what you told me, about why you didn't say anything. And I understand why you did it. I do. But it still hurt. I know. I'm sorry." She stopped walking and turned to face him. "I need you to understand something. I didn't grow up with money. I've worked for everything I have, and when someone hides something that big from me, it makes me feel like I'm not good enough to know the truth." Pain flashed across his face. "That's not what I meant at all. I know, but that's how it felt." He nodded slowly. "You're right. I should have been honest from the start. I was protecting myself, and I ended up hurting you instead." They stood there in the middle of the sidewalk, the evening light soft around them. "Can I tell you something?" Elliot said. "Okay. When my mum was sick, people kept telling me how strong I was, how well I was handling everything. But I wasn't handling it. I was drowning. And when she died, I felt like I'd lost the only person who actually knew me. Not the CEO, not the businessman, just me." His voice broke slightly on the last word, and Ariel felt something crack open inside her chest. "When I met you," he continued, "you didn't know anything about my company or my money or my title. You just saw me. And I wanted to hold on to that feeling for as long as I could." "I still see you," Ariel said softly. "The money doesn't change that." He looked at her, hope and vulnerability written all over his face. "It doesn't." "No. But you have to be honest with me. About everything. Can you do that?" "Yes, I promise." They started walking again, slower this time. Ariel told him about her fear of repeating old patterns, about how Devon had spent 2 years making promises he never kept. Elliot told her about the pressure of running his mother's company, about how lonely it felt at the top, about how his older brother Theo kept pushing him to get his life together. "What does that even mean?" Ariel asked. "Theo thinks I work too much. He thinks I use the company as an excuse to avoid dealing with my feelings. Is he right?" Elliot considered that. Maybe. Probably. They reached a bench near the duck pond and sat down. The sun was setting now, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. "Can I ask you something?" Elliot said. "Sure. That day when Devon showed up, did you love him?" Ariel thought about it carefully. "I thought I did. But looking back, I think I loved the idea of him more than the actual person. I kept hoping he'd turn into someone he wasn't." "That sounds exhausting." "It was." She looked at him. "What about you? Have you ever been in love?" "Once, a few years ago. She left when she realized I wasn't going to quit my job and travel the world with her." "What did you do?" "I let her go, and I buried myself in work." He paused. "I'm good at running away from things. You didn't run away from me. I wanted to. After you found out who I was, I thought about disappearing, moving to another neighborhood, avoiding you completely." He met her eyes. "But I didn't want to be that person anymore." Something warm bloomed in Ariel's chest. She reached over and took his hand, lacing her fingers through his. He looked down at their joined hands, then back up at her. "What does this mean?" "It means I'm willing to try, if you are." "I am," he said quickly. "I really am." They sat there as the sun disappeared below the horizon, holding hands and watching the water turn dark. When the streetlights flickered on, they walked back to her apartment together. At her door, Elliot hesitated. "Can I see you again tomorrow?" "I'd like that," he smiled, and it was the first real smile she'd seen from him in days. "Good night, Ariel." "Good night, Elliot." She went inside and leaned against the door, her heart racing. She pulled out her phone and texted Naomi. "I think I'm going to give him a chance." Naomi's reply came quickly. "Are you sure?" "No, but I want to try. Then I'm here if you need me. Love you. Love you too." Over the next 2 weeks, Ariel and Elliot fell into a rhythm. They met for morning coffee at the bakery. They took evening walks around the neighborhood. They sat on park benches and talked about everything: childhood memories, favorite books, fears, and dreams. Elliot told her about his mother's funeral, about how empty the church felt, despite being full of people. Ariel told him about her grandmother who raised her for 3 years when her parents were struggling, about how much she missed her. They shared small pieces of themselves, building something fragile and real between them. One evening, Ariel invited him to her apartment for dinner. Naomi showed up early to help cook. "So I finally get to meet him properly," Naomi said, chopping vegetables with practiced efficiency. "Be nice," Ariel warned. "I'm always nice. You're always protective. There's a difference." Naomi smiled. "Fair enough." When Elliot arrived, he brought wine and flowers, yellow tulips this time. "These are beautiful," Ariel said, taking them from him. "They reminded me of you." "Bright and warm." Naomi raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Dinner was simple pasta with homemade sauce, garlic bread, salad. Naomi asked Elliot polite but pointed questions about his job, his family, his intentions. He answered honestly, meeting her scrutiny with calm grace. After Naomi left, Ariel and Elliot cleared the dishes together. They moved around the small kitchen easily, finding a rhythm that felt natural. "Your sister is intimidating," Elliot said. Ariel laughed. "She likes you. If she didn't, you'd know. Good to know I passed the test." When the kitchen was clean, they sat on the couch with tea. The apartment was quiet, except for the soft sound of rain starting outside. "Thank you for tonight," Elliot said. "It felt like home. It felt like that to me, too." He set his mug down and turned to face her. "Can I tell you something? Always. I haven't felt this happy in a long time, not since before my mum got sick." Ariel's heart squeezed. "I'm glad. You make me want to be better, more honest, more present." She reached over and took his hand. "You make me feel the same way." They sat there in comfortable silence, fingers intertwined, rain pattering against the window. When Elliot stood to leave, Ariel walked him to the door. He paused in the doorway, looking down at her with something soft and vulnerable in his eyes. "Can I hug you?" "Yes." He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her carefully, like she was something precious. Ariel rested her cheek against his chest, feeling his heartbeat steady and strong. When they finally pulled apart, neither of them spoke. Some moments didn't need words. The next morning, Ariel was walking to her car when Devon appeared. He looked rough, unshaven, tired, his clothes wrinkled. "We need to talk." "No, we don't." "You're really doing this? Moving on with that guy?" "Devon, go home. I still care about you, Ariel. That should mean something." "It doesn't. Not anymore." His face twisted with anger. "You're making a mistake. He's just pretending to be some humble, nice guy, but he's not real. People like him never are." Before Ariel could respond, "Mrs." Keller's voice rang out from the building entrance. "Young man, I suggest you leave before I call the police." Devon turned to see the elderly woman, standing with her hands on her hips, her expression fierce. "This is none of your business," Devon said. "This is my building, and that makes it my business. Now go." Devon looked between them, then shook his head. "You'll regret this, Ariel. When he shows you who he really is, you'll wish you'd stayed with me." He stormed off to his car and drove away too fast, tires squealing. Mrs. Keller walked over to Ariel. "Are you all right, dear?" "I'm fine, thank you. That boy has a lot of growing up to do." "Yeah, he does." That evening, Ariel told Elliot what happened. They were sitting on her couch, her feet tucked under her, his arm resting along the back of the sofa. "I'm sorry he keeps bothering you," Elliot said. "It's not your fault, I know. But I hate that he makes you uncomfortable. He's just angry because I'm not waiting around for him anymore." Elliot looked at her seriously. "You know you don't owe him anything, right? Not an explanation, not your time, not anything." "I know." "Good." He hesitated, then added, "If you ever want me there when he shows up, I will be. Not to start anything, just to stand with you." Something warm spread through Ariel's chest. "Thank." They sat in comfortable silence, the TV playing softly in the background. Ariel felt herself relaxing against him, her head resting on his shoulder. "Is this okay?" she asked. "More than okay." She closed her eyes, breathing in the scent of his cologne, something woodsy and clean. His hand came to rest gently on her arm, his thumb tracing small circles on her skin. "Elliot, yeah, I'm really glad you showed up at my door that night. He pressed a soft kiss to the top of her head. Me too. 2 days later, Elliot invited Ariel to meet his brother. They went to a small Italian restaurant downtown. Theo Mercer was older than Elliot, with darker hair and sharper features. He studied Ariel carefully when they were introduced. "So you're the one who's got my little brother smiling again," Theo said. "I don't know about that," Ariel said. "I do. He's been different since he met you. Lighter." Elliot looked embarrassed. "Theo, it's a compliment. You've been miserable for months." Theo turned to Ariel. "Thank you for making him remember how to be human." Dinner was pleasant but intense. Theo asked Ariel about her work, her family, her goals. It felt less like conversation and more like an interview, but she answered honestly. Afterward, when they were alone in Elliot's car, he apologized. "I'm sorry. He can be a lot. He cares about you. That's good. He's been worried about me since Mum died. He thinks I'm drowning in work and avoiding life." "Are you?" Elliot was quiet for a moment. "I was. Before I met you." He drove her home, and they sat in the parking lot for a while, talking. He told her about his childhood, about how Theo always protected him from their father's high expectations. She told him about growing up with Naomi, about how her sister basically raised her when their parents worked double shifts. "We're lucky," Elliot said, "to have people who care that much." "Yeah, we are." He walked her to her door, and they stood in the dim hallway, neither wanting the night to end. "Can I take you somewhere this weekend?" Elliot asked. "Somewhere special?" "Where?" "It's a surprise. Trust me?" Ariel searched his face and found only sincerity. "Okay, I trust you." He smiled, and it reached all the way to his eyes. "Thank you." She watched him walk down the hallway, her heart full of something she was afraid to name. Inside her apartment, she found a text from Naomi. "How did it go with the brother?" "Good. He's intense but nice. And how are you feeling about all this?" Ariel stared at the question for a long time before typing her answer. "Happy. Scared. But mostly happy. Then I'm happy for you. You deserve this." Ariel set her phone down and looked around her apartment, her safe space, her fresh start. Everything felt different now. The loneliness that had filled these rooms when she first moved in had been replaced by something else. Hope. She went to bed that night thinking about yellow tulips and gentle hugs and the way Elliot said her name like it mattered, like she mattered. For the first time in years, she let herself believe that maybe she did. Saturday morning arrived with clear skies and cool air. Ariel stood in front of her closet, trying to decide what to wear for Elliot's surprise. He'd told her to dress comfortably but hadn't given any other hints. She settled on jeans, a soft cream sweater, and her favorite boots. Simple, but it made her feel good. When Elliot picked her up, he was wearing jeans and a dark green Henley that brought out the color in his eyes. He smiled when he saw her. "You look beautiful." "Thank you. You look nice too." They drove for about 30 minutes, leaving the city behind. The landscape opened up rolling hills, trees turning gold and red with autumn, fields stretching toward the horizon. "Are you going to tell me where we're going?" Ariel asked. "We're almost there." He turned down a narrow road lined with oak trees. At the end of it sat a small, modest house, white with blue shutters, a wraparound porch, and a garden that looked well loved despite the season. "This was my mum's house," Elliot said quietly. "I grew up here." Ariel looked at him, surprised. "Really?" "Before the company got big, we lived simply. This place was everything to her. After she died, I couldn't bring myself to sell it." He parked the car and turned to face her. "I wanted you to see it, to understand where I came from." They got out and walked toward the house. Elliot unlocked the front door, and they stepped inside. The house was small but filled with warmth. Family photos lined the walls. The furniture was worn but comfortable. Everything was clean and well-maintained, as if someone still lived there. "I come here once a week to make sure everything's okay," Elliot explained. "Sometimes I stay overnight when things get too loud in my head." "It's lovely," Ariel said, running her hand along the back of an old floral couch. He showed her, around the kitchen with its checkered curtains, the living room with its brick fireplace, his childhood bedroom that still had model airplanes hanging from the ceiling. In his mother's room, Ariel saw a quilt folded at the foot of the bed, photographs on the dresser, reading glasses on the nightstand. You kept everything exactly the way it was, she observed. I couldn't change it. It felt like erasing her. Ariel turned to him. She must have been an amazing person. She was. She worked so hard to give us a good life. When my dad left, she didn't fall apart. She just kept going, kept loving us, kept believing things would work out. His voice grew thick. I wish she could have met you. I wish I could have met her too. They stood in the quiet room, surrounded by the remnants of a life well lived. Elliot took Ariel's hand. My mom used to say that kindness was more important than being impressive. That's why I built the company the way I did. Fair wages, good benefits, treating people with respect. I wanted to make her proud. I'm sure she was proud. I'm sure she still is. He squeezed her hand. Thank you for coming here with me. Thank you for trusting me with this. They made sandwiches in the kitchen and ate them on the porch, watching leaves drift down from the trees. Elliot told her stories about his childhood climbing trees with Theo, building forts in the backyard, his mother teaching him to bake on rainy afternoons. She sounds like she was full of joy, Ariel said. She was. Even when things were hard, she found reasons to smile. On the drive back to the city, Ariel felt something shift inside her. Seeing where Elliot came from, understanding his roots, knowing that underneath the CEO title was a boy who grew up in a small house with a loving mother, it made everything feel more real. When they reached her apartment, Elliot walked her to the door. Thank you for today, Ariel said, for showing me your mum's house. That meant a lot. It meant a lot to me too. I've never brought anyone there before. Never. Never. You're the first. Ariel felt her heart swell. She reached up and touched his cheek gently. I'm honored. He covered her hand with his. Can I see you tomorrow? You can see me whenever you want. He smiled, that soft, genuine smile that made her stomach flutter. I'll call you in the morning. Okay. He started to pull away, then hesitated. Ariel? Yes? I'm falling for you. I need you to know that. Her breath caught. I'm falling for you too. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he pressed his lips to hers, soft, tentative, asking rather than demanding. Ariel kissed him back, her hands sliding up to rest on his shoulders. It was gentle and sweet and perfect. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathing harder. Good night, he whispered. Good night. She watched him walk down the hallway, touching her fingers to her lips. When she went inside, she leaned against the door, her whole body humming with warmth. Her phone buzzed. A text from Elliot. I can't stop smiling, she typed back, grinning. Me neither. The next few weeks passed in a blur of happiness. Ariel and Elliot spent almost every evening together. They cooked dinner in her small kitchen, took long walks through the neighborhood, sat on her couch watching movies with her feet in his lap. They talked about everything, their fears, their dreams, their pasts. He told her about the pressure of running the company, about board meetings that felt like battles, about employees who depended on him. She told him about difficult patients at work, about her worries for Naomi, about her grandmother's last days. They learned each other slowly, carefully, building something strong. But then, one morning, Ariel woke up to a text from Naomi. Have you talked to Elliot today? Not yet. Why? Call me. Ariel called immediately. Naomi answered on the first ring. Theo called me, Naomi said. What? Why? He has my number from when we met at dinner. He said Elliot left town yesterday. Some kind of business trip. But Theo thinks it's more than that. Ariel's stomach dropped. What do you mean? He thinks Elliot is running away. From you. From everything. Theo said he does this sometimes when things get too real. That doesn't make sense. Everything was fine. We were fine. I know, honey. But Theo seemed worried. He said, Elliot's been under a lot of pressure lately, something about a merger, gossip at the company. He said Elliot's apartment is being cleared out. Ariel sat down on her bed, her head spinning. Cleared out? I don't know the details. But Theo thought you should know. After they hung up, Ariel tried calling Elliot. It went straight to voicemail. She texted him. Are you okay? Can we talk? No response. She waited an hour, then tried again. Still nothing. Finally, late in the afternoon, a message came through. I need space to think. I'm sorry. That was it. No explanation. No promise to call later. just an apology that felt like goodbye. Ariel read the message 5 times, each word cutting deeper. She felt something inside her crack open, hurt and confusion and anger all mixed together. Mrs. Keller knocked on her door that evening and found her crying on the couch. "Oh dear, Mrs." Keller said, sitting down beside her. "What happened?" "He left. He just left without saying anything." "The young man? Elliot?" Ariel nodded, wiping her eyes. "I thought things were good. I thought we were building something real. But he ran away." Mrs. Keller handed her a tissue. "Did he say why?" "No, he just said he needs space." "And you feel abandoned?" "Yes." The word came out as a sob. "Mrs." Keller put her arm around Ariel's shoulders. "I know it hurts, dear, but sometimes people run because they're scared, not because they don't care." "Then why run at all?" "Because facing your feelings can be terrifying, especially when you've been hurt before." Ariel leaned into Mrs. Keller's embrace, letting herself cry. When the tears finally stopped, she felt empty and exhausted. "What should I do?" she asked. "That depends. Do you believe he's worth fighting for?" Ariel thought about it, about Elliot showing her his mother's house, about the way he looked at her, about the softness in his voice when he said he was falling for her. "I don't know anymore." "Then maybe you need to let him figure things out on his own. And in the meantime, you figure out what you want." The next few days were hard. Ariel went to work, came home, tried to keep busy, but everything reminded her of Elliot. The bakery where they had coffee, the park where they walked, the couch where they sat holding hands. Naomi visited every evening, bringing food and comfort. "I'm so sorry," Naomi said. "I really thought he was different. Maybe he is. Maybe I just wasn't enough." "Don't you dare say that. You are more than enough. If he can't see that, that's his problem, not yours." But the words didn't help. Ariel felt hollow inside, like something important had been taken from her. On the 4th day, she made a decision. She sat down at her kitchen table with a cup of tea and a blank piece of paper. She thought about everything she wanted to say to Elliot, all the hurt and confusion and hope tangled up inside her. Then she started writing. "Elliot, I don't know why you left or what you're running from, but I need you to know something. When I met you, I was scared. Scared of getting hurt again, scared of trusting someone new. But you made me feel safe. You listened when I talked. You showed up when I needed you. You let me see the real you, the person underneath the title and the money. I saw the man who missed his mother, who kept her house exactly the way she left it, who wanted to be kind instead of impressive. That's the person I fell for. I don't care that you're a CEO. I don't care about your company or your wealth. I care about you, the real you, and I thought you cared about me too. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this was all too much, too fast. I understand if you need space, but I wish you had trusted me enough to tell me the truth instead of just disappearing. If you're reading this, know that I don't regret any of it. Not the walks, or the conversations, or the kiss. You showed me that I could trust again, that I could open my heart again, even if it doesn't work out between us. That matters. I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope you stop running. And I hope, someday, you let yourself be happy. Ariel. She folded the letter carefully and put it in an envelope. The next morning, she took a bus downtown to the address she found online, Mercer and Coal Industries headquarters. The building was tall and modern, all glass and steel. Ariel felt out of place in her jeans and jacket, surrounded by people in expensive suits. But she walked to the reception desk with her head held high. "Can I help you?" the receptionist asked. "I need to deliver this to Elliot Mercer. Do you have an appointment?" "No, but it's important." "Please." The receptionist studied her for a moment, then nodded. "I'll make sure he gets it. Thank you." Ariel left the building and went home. She didn't know if Elliot would read the letter. She didn't know if it would change anything, but she'd said what she needed to say. Now all she could do was wait. 2 days passed, then 3. Ariel tried not to check her phone every 5 minutes, but it was hard. She threw herself into work, spent extra time with Naomi, reorganized her entire apartment. On the 4th day, she came home from the grocery store to find someone sitting on the steps outside her building. Elliot. He stood when he saw her, holding a bouquet of white roses and baby's breath, just like the first night they met. Ariel stopped walking, her heart pounding. "Hi," he said quietly. "Hi, can we talk?" She nodded, unable to speak. They went inside and climbed the stairs to her apartment. Once inside, she set down her groceries and turned to face him. "I read your letter," Elliot said. "I've read it about 20 times. Okay, you were right. About everything. I ran because I was scared. Scared of how much I cared about you. Scared of messing it up. Scared of losing someone else I loved." Ariel's throat tightened. "You could have told me that." "I know. I should have." He set the flowers on the counter and stepped closer. "There's been gossip at the company. People questioning whether I'm fit to run things. Board members pushing for changes I don't agree with. And then Devon kept showing up, saying things that got in my head. I started wondering if you'd be better off without me. Without all the complications I bring. That wasn't your decision to make. You're right. It wasn't. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for leaving like that. For making you feel like you weren't worth fighting. For..." His eyes were red-rimmed, his voice raw. "Because you are. You're worth everything." Ariel felt tears sliding down her cheeks. "You hurt me. I know. And I hate myself for it. Why did you come back? Because I don't want to run anymore. I don't want to hide or protect myself or play it safe. I want you. I want this. Even if it's messy and complicated and scary." He reached for her hands, holding them gently. "I love you, Ariel. I'm in love with you. And I'm here, if you'll give me another chance." Ariel looked at him through her tears at the vulnerability in his eyes, the trembling in his hands, the hope and fear written all over his face. "I love you too," she whispered. "But I need to know you won't run again when things get hard." "I won't. I promise. I'll mess up sometimes. I'm human. But I won't disappear on you. Never again." She searched his face, looking for any sign of doubt. She found only honesty. "Okay," she said. "Okay, okay." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. Ariel buried her face in his chest and cried from relief, from happiness, from the overwhelming emotion of having him back. "I'm sorry," he kept saying. "I'm so sorry. I know. I forgive you." They stood there for a long time, just holding each other. When they finally pulled apart, Elliot cupped her face in his hands and kissed her deeper this time, more certain. "I'm not going anywhere," he said against her lips. "I'm here. I'm staying. Promise?" "I promise." The next few weeks, they rebuilt what had been broken. Slowly, carefully, with more honesty and communication than before. Elliot told her about his struggles with the company, about the pressure he felt to live up to his mother's legacy. Ariel told him about her fears of abandonment, about how his leaving had brought back every insecurity she'd ever had. They worked through it together. Elliot made changes too. He rented a small house just a few blocks from Ariel's apartment, modest and cozy, nothing like the penthouse he'd been living in. "I don't want that life anymore," he explained, as he showed her around. "I want something real, something simple." The house had 2 bedrooms, a small backyard, and a kitchen with yellow walls that reminded Ariel of sunshine. It felt like home immediately. They spent weekends painting walls and choosing furniture. Naomi helped, and even Theo showed up one Saturday with a truck full of boxes. "You're really doing this?" Theo asked his brother. "Yeah, I am." "Good. It's about time you started living your life instead of just managing it." Mrs. Keller became a regular visitor, bringing baked goods and unsolicited advice. She and Elliot developed an easy friendship that made Ariel's heart warm. Devon showed up one last time, on a Tuesday afternoon. Ariel was walking to her car when he appeared. "I heard you're still with him," Devon said. "I am. I just don't understand what he has that I don't." Ariel looked at him and felt nothing but pity. "He shows up. He's honest. He chooses me every day, even when it's hard. That's what he has." Devon shook his head. "You're making a mistake." "No, I'm not. And I need you to stop coming here. We're done, Devon. For good." This time, he didn't argue. He just got in his car and drove away. Elliot was waiting for her when she got upstairs. She'd texted him when she saw Devon, and he'd come immediately, not to interfere, but to be there if she needed him. "How did it go?" he asked. "It's over. Really over." He pulled her close. "How do you feel?" "Free." 1 month later, Ariel and Elliot were walking through their neighborhood when they noticed a small cafe with a "For sale" sign in the window. "That's the cafe I always wanted to try," Ariel said. "The owner just retired." They stopped and looked through the window. It was tiny but charming, with exposed brick walls and big windows that let in lots of light. "What if we bought it?" Elliot said suddenly. Ariel laughed. "What? I'm serious. Not as a business investment, as a project. Something we could do together. You want to run a cafe? I want to build something with you, something that's ours." Ariel looked at the space, imagining it filled with people and laughter and the smell of fresh coffee. "You're crazy." "Maybe, but is it a good kind of crazy?" She thought about it, about having a place that was theirs, about creating something meaningful together. "Yeah," she said, smiling. "It's a good kind of crazy." They bought the cafe the following week. It was small and needed work, but it had potential. They spent their evenings and weekends painting walls, refinishing tables, choosing menu items. Mrs. Keller volunteered to help, teaching them her recipes for muffins and scones. Naomi handled the paperwork and permits. Theo provided business advice reluctantly at first, then enthusiastically when he saw how happy it made Elliot. 3 months later, they had their grand opening. The cafe was perfect. Warm yellow walls, mismatched chairs, plants in every corner, a chalkboard menu written in Ariel's careful handwriting, and above the door, a sign that made them both smile every time they saw it. Bloom Cafe, where good mistakes begin. Mrs. Keller was their first customer, ordering tea and a blueberry muffin. Naomi came with a bouquet of congratulations flowers. Even Theo showed up, looking proud and emotional. That evening, after all the customers had left and they'd cleaned up, Ariel and Elliot stood in the middle of their cafe. "We did it," Ariel said. "We did." She turned to face him, taking his hands. "Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Thank you for showing up. Every single day." He pulled her close, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "I love you. I love you too." They stood there in their cafe, their shared dream, their future, their home, and for the first time in both their lives, everything felt exactly right. Outside, the streetlights flickered on. A few neighbors walked past, waving through the window. The city hummed with life around them. Inside, Ariel and Elliot held each other, surrounded by yellow walls and the smell of coffee and the promise of every tomorrow to come. They'd both been lonely once, both been hurt, both been scared to trust again, but they'd found each other through a mistaken text message and a bouquet of white roses. They'd stumbled their way through fear and doubt and pain, and they'd chosen to stay, to trust, to love, because sometimes the best things in life start with mistakes. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is open your heart one more time. Sometimes love means showing up, being honest, and believing that despite everything, you're worthy of being loved. Ariel had learned that. Elliot had learned that. And together, they'd learned that real love doesn't require perfection. It just requires presence, honesty, and the courage to bloom exactly where you're planted. The end.